What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al, the Postmaster Tomorrow. Today, I have a gear review on the Primo Fightwear Emblem 2.0 training gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, and today we have a new chapter to the channel. Again, as you can tell, the backdrop is just a little bit different, and if you missed my short from about 2 weeks ago, I moved my entire boxing glove collection down to my grandmother's basement. Basically, a lot of news to drop. I am having my first child in September, so my grandma said, hey, to free up a room in your house, why don't you bring all of your gloves down here? That way you can have room for a nursery. Thing is, we did have a room, but you know what? I'm not going to complain because she has a really nice big finished basement that basically had nothing in it. So it works out for me because I have a place to store my gloves. I get to see my grandma just a little bit more, and of course, cookies, and who can ever say no to that? So I figured with a new chapter here in my life and the channel, we'd start out with a newer pair of gloves to continue on with a Muay Thai training glove video series, because I just reviewed all of the classics. I reviewed the Raja, Taismai, Windy, and Sandy, but these are the Primo Emblem 2.0 training gloves. And guys, when I unboxed all of those classic Muay Thai gloves, you all questioned me in the comments, why have I not gotten, I almost said Windy, why have you not gotten the Primo gloves? These are the best gloves we've ever used. They are the best Muay Thai gloves I've used. And you know what? I saw a lot of people use these, and I've had a lot of people ask me before I even got the request to really review them on the channel. I want to say about 2.5 years ago, I had a teammate of mine reach out and say, hey Al, have you ever tried these? And I saw them, they look really cool, and I saw that guys like Sanchai was sponsored by them, and he was using them. He still does, and the gym he trains at is decked out with Primo Fightwear. Same thing with a couple of my friends downstate in New York. They actually train specifically Muay Thai and fight specifically Muay Thai, and they all train in these gloves. My friend actually has the same exact one. Shout out to Devin. He's a great flyweight in Muay Thai right now. And then on top of it, I saw Jeff Chan from MMA Shredded, the YouTube channel. Really good content. Go check him out. I still think he personally spars too hard, but you know what? I think it's entertaining sometimes. But he's sponsored by Primo, and I saw that he was like kickboxing sparring with a former Muay Thai world champion from France, I believe, if memory serves. And that guy's gym looked like it was decked out with Primo Fightwear as well. So these are definitely a newer brand. They only started in 2020. They're based out of Bangkok, Thailand. In my opinion, they are a bit of a hybrid glove in that they definitely can be used for Muay Thai, but they are a different profile from most Muay Thai gloves that you see. However, the build and the general concept definitely is more of a Thai glove. They're a bit taller, a little bit more narrow compared to more Thai gloves, and the padding is definitely a lot more rounded compared to some other Thai gloves. But at the end of the day, I still consider this a Muay Thai glove because the majority of the people that use Primo Fightwear are Muay Thai fighters. Not to say this wouldn't work for MMA or boxing, and I'll go into that more down the line. But again, it's a newer brand starting in 2020 based out of Bangkok, Thailand. Their whole goal was to basically bring new equipment to the sport of Muay Thai, and that's what Primo's whole goal was. So I see that's why they actually changed things of your standard Thai glove in this glove here. Now, obviously, this is the 2.0 version, so they had a first version, and they've made improvements to this one. I'm happy I got the 2.0. It's been out for about, again, I want to say about 2 years since I had my old teammate send me these things. So that's kind of one of the things that I was excited about to finally look into them. The one thing I will say is if you see anything by Primo on Instagram, they will pop up ad after ad after ad. They are definitely one of those Instagram brands, I call them. They're very marketing savvy. They get to a lot of people very quickly, and they obviously have the money to back it if they're having all these big athletes use their equipment, but it's good stuff. So that's always good. I know, long intro as always. I can't keep my mouth shut, but I want to give you the biggest backstory I can about every glove that I do. That's why I always put the timestamps for you, let's go ahead and go into the exact model I have for you today, which will also be kind of weird to explain because some gloves do this, especially in Muay Thai. But for you today, I got the 16-ounce Mayan Blue colorway, and they only come in hook and loop closure at the moment, so that is the Velcro here. As far as lace-ups, I think they have lace-up fight gloves, but most Thai gloves honestly don't have a lace-up version, and I don't know why that is. I've never really done the deep dive as to why most Thai fighters will just prefer Velcro, I imagine for convenience. And when they fight, obviously they use lace-ups. But again, 16-ounce Mayan Blue colorway. You got a couple of other different colorways that you can get with the leather version, and that's the other part about this glove. This is the leather version of the glove. There is also a semi-leather version. Now, the differences between those is pricing and a couple different colors. Basically, for these, the 16-ounce leather version of the glove is $145. But if you go down to 14, it goes to $140. You go down to 12, it's $135. You go down to 10, it's $130. And then you go down to 8, it's $125. They also have two other sizes, 8 and 10-ounce compact fit, which has a tighter, more snug fit on the inside of the hand compartment, primarily for women, I think is what it says on the website. Those run for $125 flat. But if you want the semi-leather version, all sizes, including the 8 and 10-ounce compact fit, are just $100 flat. So that's what you're looking at here. The biggest difference is just the price. So if you want the leather version, I'm more partial to leather, so I'm gonna go that way. But semi-leather and Thai speak is the easiest way. That sounds so weird. In Muay Thai glove equipment speak, I should say, is basically a microfiber leather. It's not like the regular engineered PU stuff that you see. It's most of the time, it's more of a microfiber leather that holds up a little bit better. So again, those are 100. You have a couple different colors you can get. The Mayan Blue looks really nice, so I went with that. They also have something called Champion Red. They have Onyx Black. And I want to say they have a green color, like a forest green, but that might be a different glove model that I'm thinking of. I'll put all the colors across the screen. The semi-leather version virtually has the same exact colors as this. They're just a little bit lighter and more faded. Obviously with this, these are usually dyed. Some leathers are drum dyed, so they can kind of get that actual color into the leather really well, whereas microfiber and engineered leather, usually they don't dye it, it's printed out of that color. So they might not have been able to match this color exactly with a microfiber, which is completely normal, that's fine. But again, for your reference, again, a bit of a long-winded explanation, I got the 16-ounce glove in the Mayan Blue colorway, and again, only available in the hook and loop Velcro closure. Now, when we come and take a look at this glove, another reason why I call it an Instagram glove is because it's pretty. It looks really, really pretty. I mean, this robin's blue, it looks like a robin egg almost, if not maybe a little bit brighter than that. Sky blue, you could call it. They call it a Mayan Blue. I don't really know many other things called Mayan Blue, so we will keep calling it that, but it's a very nice, bright, pretty blue, really nice on the camera. That's the one thing about this glove, is that all the definitions of it really come out nice on the camera. If you put this with your phone, it looks great. And then on top of it, the logo that we have here on the back, the black Primo colorations, you got the silver lotus flower that really looks nice when you have the light reflect off it, as you can see there. And then you also have a silver border going across the entire logo. Cool thing too, instead of having your standard oval or circular logo like most other brands do, it's actually in the shape of the lotus flower itself. You can see the dip in here, and it kind of goes around there. And that just has a basic white background. So I like that. Already they're standing out from a lot of the brands as far as looks go. So that's really nice. Again, you have more of that blue at the back. When we come over to the thumb, again, that solid blue, but you can see we have a thicker web attachment, a webbed thumb attachment, which is nice, and that's also blue. We come over to the palm. The stitching itself is actually all that Mayan Blue that you see here. When we open up the glove, the actual grip bar is that same blue. The white here works really well with that blue. That's for the thumb piping. When we come down here, you can see, just to prove it's 16 ounces, it's stamped right into the leather itself. It says 16 ounces right there. And you have a shield that, let me read the other one because I have terrible eyesight, folks. It says, handcrafted, fighter tested, Primo, genuine leather made in Thailand, on that shield down there. And then when we come over to the actual wrist cuff, you can see here it says Primo. And it says on the website, it's a nice, rounded, soft leather patch. And it is pretty soft. It is rounded. It doesn't really give you a ton of irritation, but I definitely wouldn't want it rubbed on me too much. But you can see we have the stars here, and those are all raised. And you can see the Primo logo there, and it has a little bit of a gray hue to it underneath there. And it says on the back of that, it says Fightwear as well, or the bottom of it, it says Fightwear. When we open the glove up, You can see the piping here is all that blue. When we open it up, the back of the strap is black. So you have a nice blue and black color clash, which is really nice. And then you can see the inside is black. Now, the other thing that's cool about this glove is compared to some other Thai gloves, the entire lining is just that nylon stretch, and that's black, but there's no leather at the bottom here, like most other gloves will have. But overall, really basic as far as the design goes, but it's definitely a different color than you see most gloves, and it has more of a vibrant, modern touch to it, which is really nice. Now, when we go ahead and go into the actual build of the glove, the outer shell is made out of a very nice top grain leather. Now, it says genuine leather here, but I always try and educate you guys on leather a little bit because I'm a big leather nut. But when it comes to genuine leather, most boxing glove brands will say genuine to mean it's real leather, it's authentic leather, it's the legit thing. Whereas genuine leather in the world of leather is lower quality stuff. It's the bottom part of the grain before you start having scrap leather, basically is what it is. But in this case, we have top grain leather. And you might be wondering, well, what's top grain leather, Al? Well, the two best qualities are full grain because that's what you get off the animal itself. And it usually has no imperfections and you use that. But what a lot of people do, especially in the world of boxing gloves, is top grain. They just shave the very top of the layer off. So that way all the imperfections are gone. You still get the natural color and grain marks of the hide itself. And it's much easier to work with because it's completely uniform. Once you shave that top layer off, all the imperfections are gone. You are working on an equal playing field. So you can see here that leather has that natural grain mark going throughout the entirety of the glove itself. You can see that a little bit easier on the thumb because it's a completely flat surface. Same thing on the palm. It's not just creasing from the leather, that is complete grain marks going throughout the entirety of the glove itself. And you have reasonably thick leather on top as far as how much you can pull off the padding itself, so it lets the padding breathe a bit more. If the leather or the outer shell of any glove is stretched too tight, the foam is going to be a lot more compressed, and when things are compressed, it's going to be activated at all times. But in this case, it has a lot of give to it because of that nice soft leather. It's very smooth, but it has a dry feel to it, and that's very normal with Thai gloves. It's like a buttery, dry feel to it. The one thing I'll say about it, although you have a lot of leather at the top of the glove, the leather feels kind of thin compared to most Thai leathers. So I think that just might be the dyeing process that might have maybe made the leather feel a little bit different. But overall, has a nice, clean, dry scent to it, and overall really nice leather on the outside. So Primo did a really good job of using Thai leathers as well. They do not outsource, they only use Thai leathers as well. Most brands will do that. When we talk about the padding, just like a lot of other Thai gloves, you have your multi-layered Thai foams. They say it's a high-level sports grade foam to protect the knuckles, and they do categorize this glove on their website as a puncher's glove. So that is something you gotta look into. So usually the 3 layers is a base layer of EVA foam, the middle layer is latex, and the top layer is a high density multi-layered foam to protect your knuckles. Now in this case, I think they actually changed the padding around a little bit. There's definitely EVA at the base, and you can tell that just by feeling the thumb. EVA foam is usually a closed cell foam. It's what you use in bag gloves, but a lot of the times you use that as a base layer so it keeps the glove in one uniform shape so it doesn't move, and it also stiffens up around your knuckles so it protects your knuckles a little bit more, but you have softer layers on top of it, so when you hit, it doesn't hurt your partner and it doesn't hurt your knuckles at all. So that's basically what you have in almost every Thai glove. I guarantee you're gonna have that in there. Then the latex, you can definitely feel, just because when we go ahead and snap this out, you can see it pops. Latex derives from rubber. So when we do this, you can see it snaps right back, and it has a bit of a bounce to it as well. Well, that one didn't because my hand got in the way. It has a bit of a bounce to it. Very similar to one of the most popular gloves on the market, the Cleto Reyes glove. When I do this, you can see this has a much faster snap because this is a solid latex sheet. Whereas this still has a high density foam on the inside. And where I think that is more around the knuckles themselves to give you that nice knuckle protection. So when I squeeze in here, I can feel that soft foam. And when I really squeeze tight, you'll see the top layer snap back, but then the middle of it really took its time to breathe out. And I'll do that again. And you can even hear the air leaving the glove itself, like this. When I squeeze, it pops out like that. So that's one thing that you have with this. I think there's a pocket of foam that goes right over the knuckles, that nice high density foam to protect and stop the shock. right over the knuckles on the inside of the glove itself. So you have that latex to give you that nice puncher's pop that bounces back, but you also have that nice foam directly over the knuckles to protect you and your sparring partner, stop the shock. So that's really nice. It does definitely have that puncher's fit and feel, but the one thing I will say is that the padding is also more rounded compared to more flat puncher's gloves. Most of the time, puncher's gloves have a very flat surface, so when you punch, your knuckles pierce right through. It's more in that flat puncher shape compared to that rounded shape that gives you just that little bit of distance between your knuckles and the target. So when we go to the rest of the glove, we talk about the thumb. Like I said, you have that really nice web thumb attachment going on here. So that feels really good. And it allows you to kind of open and close a little bit easier, believe it or not. Most of the time it's not. What it says too is that it tucks behind the knuckles a little bit more for better control. And obviously since it's a tie glove, you want the thumb to be more on the side so you can get a nice solid clinch. But what that web thumb attachment does, instead of having it at the tip, it's on the inside. So when you open it, it opens similar to the lotus flower we have on the back, and it's right there. So you're able to get much better clinch and grips, especially for me as an MMA fighter. I notice I'm actually able to get really good wrist control, funny enough, like actual wrist control with this glove. The thumb is much thinner than the padding that you have for the top mold itself. Obviously, since it's a tie glove, you have two different parts of the glove. You have the top padding mold, then you have the bottom of the wrist. But the thumb mold definitely is just that EVA foam. It doesn't feel like there's anything else in there. It's very light. There's not a lot protecting it, and it has a lot of give to it. It can bend very easily. So the thumb is not great as far as protection goes, and it's so thin that it doesn't really match the uniformity that you have with the rest of the padding up top. But still, really nice thumb, able to open and close, but not so much in the protective category. And the other thing though, compared to a lot of other tie gloves, when you close your fist, you're able to tuck it behind the knuckles. So you have a perfect punching, clinching glove that can go between the best of both worlds, which is awesome. A lot of gloves really don't pull that off that well. When we talk about the wrist, I'll open this up for you. You can see here again, we have two separate splits, and that's the one part of the glove that I think falls short is the wrist support in general. Because you do have a split here, obviously the padding mold in the bottom of the wrist cuff, but the one thing I don't like, there's nothing to brace the middle at all. Obviously for a tie glove, you want it to be able to bend for clinch work because a lot of the clinch isn't tugging, it's curving that wrist down so you're able to snap the head down, kind of like with a wrestling collar tie. It's not just doing this and pulling, it's this, right? That little bend of the wrist will make a world of difference, trust me. So when we have that, you're able to do that, but compared to some other tie gloves, because this is a taller glove, the shock is going to travel down a lot faster, and the wrist strap doesn't actually secure over the bone of the wrist. It actually secures more on your forearm, which I'll show in a second. You do have some stiff EVA foam down here on top of the wrist itself. On the other side, on the interior lining, the lining itself has plush padding, so the wrist does have some padding going around the back and the front of the glove. And you do have nice soft open cell padding, kind of like insulation foam on the side here to protect the base of your wrist and to wrap around your wrist a lot easier. Same thing on this side. And that goes into the palm itself. As you can see here, the grip bar is actually just about as soft as the rest of the padding of the glove. And then the thumb piping too, which is nice, is not tight at all. And that's one thing that I always tell people to watch out for. That's a silent killer. You never want too much pressure that's on this part of your thumb because there's a pressure point there, and if you keep squeezing that, you're going to notice your arms and your forearms are going to die out real quick, and you don't want that, especially when you're sparring. So that's basically what you got going on there. So the grip bar is really nice natural fist. It says it has good, nice fist suspension. I think it's trying to say nice fist position, but we also have more, let me open that up, more of that padding going throughout the entirety of the forearm and the palm too. So it's great for catching punches when it comes to partner drills. There's no padding on the actual center of the palm, so that's not great. But if you're catching it like, kick or a punch or drilling, this takes a little bit of the sting off, which is always good, especially with a glove like this. When we go ahead and go into the lining, it is your basic stretch nylon that you get in a lot of other gloves. And unlike some other tie gloves, there's no leather at the base at all. Usually they have a fake leather or a leather base here. That way it has a different unique fit and feel, and it snugs around the wrist a little bit easier. In this case, it does not have that. When we try the glove on too, the one thing I'll say is the lining, it's very plush. You have a lot of extra padding on the inside of the glove like on the back here and on the back here, even the molds. The lining itself feels padded, and up by the fingers, you can see where I was talking about that nice soft plush foam feel, because when you push up by the fingers, you feel the latex. When you push up by your knuckles, you feel that high density foam. So if you ever get these, you'll actually be able to feel what I'm talking about. The only thing that's annoying with the glove, guys, is that the the lining towards the tip of the fingers just gets in the way. A lot of Thai gloves do that. So it's like I knock a point off for it here or there, but in this case, it's just annoying. And since it's a taller Thai glove for me, I notice whenever I open and close, and it has very good capability to open and close, my fingers actually don't fall out as much as they would in some other Thai gloves, especially if I strap this glove up tight. So usually with taller Thai gloves, my fingers will creep out and start falling out of the glove very quickly. My fingers are staying in the finger compartment. So that's actually a really nice, it's indicative of a puncher's glove. It's a really nice feature. So I am able to get a really nice fist alignment, really nice punch, which is always good. You can see that my thumb does protrude back a bit. It does say that it tucks behind. Definitely does if you know what you're doing. It's not going to really bother your thumb any. But the one thing boxers are going to hate, and I always pay homage to my buddy Simon from Fit to Box, because I never really thought about this way from an amateur boxing background like me. We never worried about thumbing anyone in the eye, probably because of what they do to you outside the gym. And that's what happens when you grow up in a city club. But boxers will not like that. So if you're boxing and you see the thumb come out that big, the worry of thumbing is there. Obviously in Thai boxing, I'm thinking more about this and getting a clinch. The one thing I love about this as an MMA fighter, like I said, I got really good clinch, back of the arms, wrist, head, top of the head, whatever it might be, collar ties. This is me actually fixing the lining there because it does get baggy. But watch this. When I want basic wrist control, like wrist grip, I have it. It feels like I have complete use of my thumb. I've actually been able to attack double wrist locks, or Kimuras for most of you, in this glove, which is absolutely crazy. So this is a really good glove for MMA for grips, and my grip does not get tired inside this glove at all, which is always good. Now, when we go into the other parts of the glove, like the padding, it has that puncher's feel, but when you push in around the knuckles, you can't really feel it because of that nice high density foam pocket that's right over the knuckles itself. So when I push in like this, I don't feel it, but when I hit, I get a nice solid puncher's feel that gives me a good snapback. I'm able to feel my knuckles sink through the padding a little bit here or there, but it is not like a pure puncher like a Cleto Reyes training glove would be. It doesn't feel like horsehair. It doesn't feel like solid latex sheets. It feels like a nice hybrid. And of course, because the padding is more rounded, it protects your knuckles just a little bit more. What it doesn't protect that well is the wrist. I feel a bulk of my shock go down to the back of my hand here, and I feel a lot of it go down to my wrist. And again, if you see this part here, my wrist bone is right up here. This is where the actual strap lands, which is right here on my forearm. The other thing too is the glove does not secure to your hand as well as I wish it did, because the top pressure is just so much different. It is a very top heavy glove. I will say that it suspends a lot better than some Thai gloves, especially going back. As you can see here, it suspends that and it snaps back, but here, that's what your wrist is relying on for support. So I feel like some people, if they don't know what they're doing, are gonna punch and it'll snap down like that. Obviously it's a Thai glove, so it's meant to do this and curve for Thai clinch. But in general, it's not the greatest feel when I'm trying to stop the shot going from the back of my hand to my wrist. And I do notice as I get older, my wrists get a little bit more sensitive. I'm only 28, so I'm talking like I'm an old man. But I have noticed in this glove, I do get slight discomfort in the wrist if I don't wrap my hands up tight around the wrist. So if you're gonna use this glove and you have bad wrists, either look elsewhere or wrap your wrist up pretty tight in these. But overall, they feel pretty good. Like I said, they don't secure to the hand all that great. So if I want to pull it off, and that's even with a shirt being in it too, it flies right off too. But overall, pretty comfortable, dries out really easy because of the interior lining. Really nice puncher's feel, but let's go into the bag work and then we'll come back with my final thoughts. So like a lot of other puncher's gloves you're gonna use, they do have that nice pop off the bag and they do recoil beautifully. The one thing I like about these though, again, they are really well balanced. The clinch is pretty solid, as I talked about earlier too, but the knuckle padding that you have on the inside feels really comfortable when you punch, so it gives you that nice cushion. The only thing is that I always, when I use these gloves, wrap my wrist and the back of my hands a little bit more, and I'm showing you right there. You can feel a lot of pressure come off of the padding down to the wrist and the back of the hand, and it's not uncomfortable for me because I'm used to it at this point, but overall, I think that might be a red flag for some people using these gloves. They're very light. You're able to let your hands fly. If you have strong hands like I do, you're able to hit as hard as you want, but they're kind of catch-22. Again, the thing you can say about Primo's gear is that it is really good on camera. It looks absolutely beautiful. I think the logos pop out perfectly, and it just says Primo right there. And people are going to immediately look at you and ask, what are those gloves? I kind of want to get those just because of how good they look. So I think Primo definitely has that going for them when it comes to their brand alignment. I think in general, they are for sure one of the prettier gloves that I own. I think they're simple, but they do a great job and they look awesome. All right, folks, my final verdict here for the Primo Emblem 2.0 Muay Thai training gloves is this, and it might be a bit of a controversial take, so just bear with me for a second. They are really pretty gloves, and they do perform well. They're not bad. Are they the best gloves I've ever used? Certainly not. Are they the best Thai gloves I've ever used? Also certainly not. I think we have a case of you have a lot of your favorite fighters that use these. Some of the greatest Muay Thai guys of all time, like Sanchai, is using these, who still has a major social media following, still does his US tours of seminars, and I imagine he's bringing some of this stuff with him to sell. So you have a lot of people using it. And on top of it, they are appealing to the eye, and eye-catching gear gets bought a lot more than functional gear, in my opinion, a lot of the times. There are just some gloves out there that people will get because most people are using them. This is one of them, in my opinion. Does that mean they're bad? No. But does that mean that they're the best? No, also, in my opinion. Especially for all the different Thai gloves I've tried, they're certainly not the best. But let's go ahead and we're going to talk about some of the things I like, some of the things I would change, and then we'll go into my grade when it comes to the glove itself. My final rating, I should say grade. I never call it my grade, but let's talk about the things I like about the glove. It's really good as far as quality and durability goes. I mean, I've had these for about 7.5 months, and I beat the tar out of these, and they are really, really good as far as durability goes. They broke in wonderfully. They weren't stiff out of the box either. They were comfortable and ready to use, but it took me maybe 2 or 3 rounds for the glove, really the padding to kind of soften up and firm around my hand. It fits really good on the hand as far as like a nice natural fist, which is always good. And overall, the leather on the outside, they definitely didn't go cheap with the leather there. You definitely have to pay a little bit more because depending on the size that you get, that's different, but a lot of brands do that, and that makes sense to me because obviously leather is a very expensive material. So the more you use for a heavier glove, you know, they're going to make it a little bit bigger. Most Thai gloves will, you know, just shrink or expand it. In this case, you're just using more really expensive material. That's why it costs more. So I don't think that's anything bad about it. But the leather on the outside, they definitely did not cheap out with that. Very easy to clean the glove as well. Very friendly as far as durability when something's easy to clean. And in this case, the outer shell of leather is so high quality, and obviously Thai leather is just a lot more humidity controlled because of the humid country it comes from. So even in the States, especially, I'm in the middle of New York State. It is freezing cold. It is definitely not getting attacked by humidity, but I tell you what, it works well because that leather is just easy to clean. The interior lining of that stretched nylon that you have going on here is really, really nice to clean, and it dries out quickly. I didn't really mention it, but you do have the 4 breathe holes or the 5 breathe holes in the center of the palm. But I mean, little breathe holes like that is going to make a difference, like a mesh palm that a lot of other Thai gloves get. In this case, this still feels really good. It's really easy to clean. It's a really good quality glove. It protects the knuckles well. That's the one thing I will say for a puncher's feel. It does protect the knuckles well. And overall, it has a nice, comfortable fist. But let's go into the things that I would change and that I dislike. It has good knuckle padding, but the wrist support and the back of the hand support is not as good as the knuckle padding and the durability of the glove. And that's a shame because it is a really good glove for me in that department. When it comes to the wrist support, again, this is basically what you're relying to protect your wrist. Now, obviously for Thai gloves, you need it to snap down for clinch, but I think that's why taller Thai gloves often don't work as well because you're trying to take the concept of a shorter, stockier Thai glove that straps right to the wrist and provides that wrist support. And since there's such a short distance between the knuckles and the wrist, it provides you more opportunity to kind of protect the wrist. Whereas this is going to elongate it. You don't really have a strap that's actually locking around the wrist joint itself. And that's a problem. And for me, I have very strong hands. I very rarely had hand issues outside of when I was like 8 or 9 and I broke my hand in basketball. You know, I've never had any type of problems with my hands or wrists. Like I said, as I get a little older, yes, you have nagging injuries and my wrists do bother me from time to time. I think that's just arthritis, if I'm honest. But at this point, it is the glove for me, because I've tried tons of other gloves like this, like Booster's a tall tie glove, Triumph United's a tall tie glove, and I brought them with me one day with this glove, and this glove just does not have the wrist support I wish it did. So if you have brittle wrists, I would prefer you either look for something else, or I prefer you wrap your wrist up tight. When I wrap my wrist up tight and really wrap my hands with emphasis on wrist support, it was fine to use, and I was able to use it a lot. And for heavy bag work, like heavy bag work, wailing on the bag, which is always good. The back of the hand, I wish it just snugged around the hand a little bit more. You know, sometimes you want it to wrap kind of like, it's hard to describe it, but I want it to wrap like this around the back of the hand, whereas when I put it on, it feels like it puffs out more this way. So nothing's really securing the back of my hand except for my hand wraps. And again, I think that's just the fault of having a taller tie glove. I wish the lining wasn't so baggy. That's always annoying. If it was baggy towards the base, whatever, you know, I'd say that. But when it's baggy towards the fingers and while I'm sparring and hitting the bags, I have to fish my fingers in and fix it. It's a pain and no one likes to deal with that, but that's the other thing. Although you do have that rubber patch here at the base, I think it looks cool. It doesn't bother people. You know, maybe some people were wondering, does the rubber patch bother you? But I'm rubbing it on my head. Right now, yes. And I also just shaved my face this morning, so it's a little irritable to the skin. But I mean, if you're rubbing it against someone's forearm and stuff and they're covered in gloves or they got a shirt on, it's not gonna bother you whatsoever. So if it really bothers some of your teammates, just put clear tape over it and it's gonna get rid of that texture. But I don't think that's a big deal, just in case someone was asking. But overall, knuckle protection's good. Wrist support could be a lot better. And on top of it, the price point, I would say the microfiber version might be better, right? Because you're gonna virtually have the same glove that's gonna do the same thing, that's not gonna cost as much. 145 bucks, I wouldn't buy this glove again. I'd prefer to get something like, I'm just looking at my tie shelf, I prefer Twins, I prefer the Rev Gear, I prefer, wow, I'm looking right at Fairtex, a lot of other gloves that are around that same price or cheaper that do, for me, just as good a job, if not better. I prefer Booster over these. I like Sandy and Yokow more, and those, again, go for around the same price. So that's just my opinion. I think if these were like in that $110 range or $120 range, I'd be more inclined to buy it. That $20 jump would be there. But when we're talking 150 bucks in the professional glove category, I think that the other professional gloves, especially in the tie world, they just do a slightly better job. Not to say that these are bad, because they're certainly not. But when we go ahead and talk about my final rating when it comes to these gloves, because I feel like they're just in that unique category of I really like them, but, you know, it's one of those things. So I'd have to say, for me, you know, put me on the spot here, folks. I'd really have to say, for me, I'd give them a solid 8 out of 10, and I'd put them in the B tier category, which is a good glove. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're excellent, like an A or an S tier. I think they are a good glove, and I gave them an 8 out of 10. I will actually change that to a 7 out of 10 because of the wrist support being not that great. It's still a good score. You know, I think if you start going to a 6 out of 10 of things, that's when I'd put it in the C tier, which is average, which I have not really done a whole lot of on the channel. I feel like I don't really review a ton of bad gear in general. And these are certainly not bad, but I definitely would put them in that category. And again, some of the things it does well, really well made. The leather's great quality. It's very easy to clean and maintain, which is just imperative for some people. Some people have a really hard time taking care of their stuff, and it drives me crazy. These gloves are easy to do because the leather's so well done. The interior lining dries out so easily, so they're not going to rot on the inside. And I do genuinely think they had a really good idea when it came to that pocket of high density foam over your knuckle to protect it while giving you that puncher's feel. So they definitely fit that puncher's category, more of a protective puncher's category. But when it comes to the glove, I think the wrist supports fall short. I think the overall ergonomics of the glove don't feel as well as some others. I think you're able to make a really nice natural fist, but the baggy lining's annoying. I think just the top heavy nature of the glove kind of ruins it for some, because I like shorter gloves that are top heavy, but longer gloves that are top heavy, definitely you can feel the balance off. I mean, if we just do the age-old test I always do, this is the middle of the glove about, right? Put my hand here, right? Completely flat. Now watch where the glove goes. Again, 3, 2, 1. It goes right towards there. Even if I do it this way, right, it's gonna go that way, most of the weight's there, but I'll go a little bit further about here, not the middle anymore. And you see it now, it's balanced about right there. I go down towards the middle, Look where it goes, right over. So it's not a very good balance glove, and that drives me nuts sometimes, because when you feel like the balance is going all over the place, it's like, I just want something that brings me home at all times, and that should be here or here for most people. So I hope I was answer all your questions. I hope I was able to answer all your questions about these gloves. Of course, if I missed anything, let me know in the comments below or message me on any of my social media pages. These have been requested for a long time, and although I do think they're a good glove, I would prefer almost all of the different gloves that I tried, except for the Windies. I might get these over the classic Windy gloves, but I like the Ties My Sandy and Raja more than these by a good amount. So if you want to get a Thai brand, I would look into those first personally, but these are definitely not a bad place to start, especially them being such a new brand. And they do have really good customer service, and they are very active on social media as well. So if you want to check them out, go ahead and follow them. But again, please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell for future reviews just like these. It goes a long way to help the channel. We're at 13.3 thousand subscribers already, which is crazy to think. A lot of good things happening in life. Thanks to everyone checking in with me. I appreciate it. And of course, share this review with your friends if they were thinking about getting a pair of the Primo Emblem 2.0 training gloves, or if they need a couple more gear reviews for their day. As always, guys, I appreciate you for supporting your source of combat sports, the Combat Corporation. I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.